Formative assessment is really a common sense approach to teaching, but it's one of those things where there's a million different ways to do it. There are so many techniques, and this year through our differentiated supervision we've been really kind of learning a lot of those techniques, but a lot of them are common sense. It really is taking the pulse of your class a lot more frequently than you would in a maybe more traditional standard teaching setting. And it's just little stuff from saying, hey, thumbs up if you're with me. You're still with me, that's good. Having them work with partners and then having the partners share out so the kid doesn't feel like it's like individually on me, whether I don't have it or maybe I do have it. The pressure is lessened. But then also by having them do stuff like this, you really are taking that pulse. I tried something different though, and it's not in the quote-unquote formative handbook, but the idea behind it is. And it's using Twitter, it's using social media to make sure that what they're doing is using the relevance and using some of the Odyssey, the book that's 3,300 years old, that story, and really understanding that you can now get your messages out by trying to teach condensing writing style. So the techniques I use, not all of them are on that list that you get from the formative assessment coaches, but the technique is there, and it seemed to work. Does anyone know the word condensed? What does the word condensed mean, David? Small space, okay? AJ? Packed into. I like that. Let's go with that one for a second. What if you could take your thoughts and rather than spending 2 or 3 sentences or 4 or 5 sentences, you could pack it into a smaller space. Make sense? That's what Twitter's good for. Twitter then became the vehicle to try to learn how to condense your writing. And as I told the kids in class, when you learn how to condense your sentence, you're so used to making a paragraph 4 or 5 sentences. But what's the real meat of that? What's really in the writing that you really need? If you could learn how to condense it, rather than water it down, but really make it much more focused on the intent of the writing and the good stuff in it, Twitter forces you to do that. It's 140 characters or less. You have to really concentrate on the good stuff. So I said you got to use either a life lesson and a metaphor. You have to have it relevant to you now and create a tweet. And then just made a point system based on that. As you get the ideas, if they're relevant and they're using the Odyssey, the stuff that's 3,300 years old, tweet at will. Send me that stuff at will. As long as you're hashtagging it the right way, as long as I'm tagged in it, if it's good enough, you get points. Part of that formative process is to model good work, to model success for them, so they can see right in front of them what the end result, when it's done perfectly or near perfectly, looks like. So modeling that for them is part of that formative assessment. It has that, again, it's that constant check and balance, and kind of teaching through that. I'm going to put the Twitter up. We're going to watch it happen live. I will then grade it live right in front of you. Because remember, if it makes sense, if it does this formula, you get 1 point. It's all in your packets. If I favored it, 2 points. If I retweet it, 3 points. I'm not going to wait till tomorrow to tell you that it's good. I want you to work on it instantly. So seconds after they hit it, I'm on it, I'm telling them, try it again. Within 5 minutes, they got it. The old way of doing it? Well, yeah, okay, we'll get back to it tomorrow. It's lost. It's gone. Right now, it's in the moment, and they just learned it, and they walked out the door with it. Be only yourself and nothing else. Otherwise, you'll be seen as the wrong you. James, no. And why? What's it missing? There's nothing going back to the story. Right. All right, so go ahead and fix it, and then redo it. Good. I'm glad you're seeing it. You've got to have part of the story. I love the advice, James. The advice is very, very good. But I need something to attach it to the actual 3,300-year-old text. If you can take something like the Odyssey that's 3,300 years old, and you can make it relevant to them today, that is probably one of the most important things. The theme of the literature doesn't change. The author's intention of the literature doesn't change. So in this class, we're focusing on those things and what you get out of it that you can take forward. 10 years from now, it's not important that you can spit back at me what was on page 50 of chapter 4. I don't care about that. I care that you understand that the themes and the relationship of character to another character, because if you get it in the novel, you may get it in life. To me, that's the learning. So to do that, you got to then make sure that you can mix it up with them. Have them work through technology to get those things. Have them use something they're going to use anyway. Most of these kids, if not all these kids, have a Twitter account anyway. So it took some learning on my point to say, all right, what is Twitter? How does it work? How do I use it for them? Bingo. Now I'm using it for them, and it's still English. I think it has to be a balance. I think you have to absolutely know your content first. You as a teacher are the expert in the classroom. You have to know why Shakespeare invented 30,000 words, why those words then transformed the English language. You have to know Homer, this was a myth. This is a legend. It carries on because humanity hasn't changed. You've got to know that before you can spice it up with this. If you just spice it up with technology and don't know your content, well, now what are you pitching to them? They're not going to buy what you're selling because guess what? You don't know your stuff. There's always a place for you to be the master of your classroom and know your content. Then, based on that mastery, now you learn the new and exciting ways to use that stuff, that technology in your classroom so it relates to the kids even more.